wrapped up.
That's good.
Yeah,
Sucks
I
having
had
to work like today.
well, and like what happened was I have one person that's out because they're having surgery, and then like they do a really complicated government thing at my job, and I was like, oh well, thank God her backup is here, so I don't have to do it. And then on Tuesday, her backup told me, "Hey, my grandmother just died, so I have to fly to New Hampshire. You're gonna have to do the complicated government thing." I went, "Fuck!" So I got a crash course reminder on how to do all that shit, and that's been my week, is doing nothing but government stuff.
Government stuff.
Yeah, we have
That
this thing called
sounds
I-9. It's like a tax form. And basically, you
okay.
have to prove through documentation that you're legally allowed to be employed in the United States. And like most of the time it's easy because like you just have to have like a passport or like your driver's license and a social security card. But like some people who are not from America originally, they have like other documentation that I'm not as familiar with. So I have to do a lot of like research on, all right, is this a legitimate form? Like what are the numbers on it? That kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, boring job stuff.
Good times.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Smark Avengers. I did not have to verify John and Dylan's I-9s in order to work here because they do not work in the United States. Yeah. Yeah, it's just me doing
You didn't tell me that we were being recorded. I had no idea.
Well, you didn't tell me last week that we were being recorded, and you fondled me. So,
No. Well,
that was also
kind of
weird.
What happened. No.
That is exactly what happened.
Okay. Well, you all right. You got me there. Fair play.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Smark Avengers. I'm Corey, and with me are Dylan and John. And
Hi.
we are. This is just going to be able. Do we have a name for these kind of episodes?
Shit talking.
Shit talking. Okay.
Yeah,
that'll do.
So, anyway, the gimmick of our conversation is essentially we are just going to talk about whatever happens to come to mind. I use an app to purchase comics, or not purchase comics, but to track what I've purchased. It is called Comic Geeks, which I'm not a fan of the name, but it's got a really good like tracker of like what's coming out, so you can mark what you actually are going to buy, so you're not just wandering around the store. And also it keeps statistics on your most read characters and your most read writers and stuff, which I can absolutely tell you who I'm currently reading a lot of at the moment. But anyway, they've got a function like a chat room kind of thing, and it's interesting like the kind of stuff people talk about, in that a lot of it is people like really remember we had that episode on the Robins where I talked about how like they have a huge fan base. A lot of people who go to comic book message boards are like those kinds of fans that just want to talk about like the Robins or the Bat Family comics from like the 2000s. Because I'm like seeing somebody talk about the Birds of Prey comic that Gail Simone used to write. Do you ever read Birds of Prey?
No, I heard good stuff about it though.
Yeah, no, Gail did a good job with it. I think it was like her big series.
Yeah, well, yes, I think it was probably her big like most prolific series.
Yes,
I heard Clean Room
like
was her like big series.
Yeah, she also had her run on Deadpool was very
really good.
Lauded as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it.
I know you're looking forward to that X-Men book that she is going to be putting out in the summer.
I like Gail Simone, man. I think she's a funny cat. She is really funny, and she loves winding people up. You know what I mean?
She absolutely does.
Oh, she loves
stirring
it.
The pot.
But she's so good at it.
Yeah.
What I love about her is she winds up people that are so easy to wind up, and they don't know they're being wound up.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah. Have you ever read Secret Six?
No.
I think you would really like Secret Six, John, and actually Dylan too. So Secret Six is sort of like a take on the Suicide Squad minus all the Amanda Waller stuff. It's basically just a crew of criminals that are just like trying to get by, and the lineup for it is Bane, Deadshot, the second Ragdoll, Scandal Savage, Vandal Savage's daughter, and was it Silver Banshee? And there was somebody else, but I can't remember who it was. But yeah, no, it was like a really a fun series where it just was kind of unrestricted Gale in that it was a series that wasn't heavily promoted and it didn't feature a lot of big characters and she kind of could just do what she wanted to do. So her sense of humor really came out in it. Oh, Catman. Catman was the sixth member.
It sounds like her.
Yep. Yeah, no, it was a friend of mine was like super into it. I read it towards the tail end of the series, but like there was like some good serious storylines in it. Like I think they talked on like Bane's addiction to venom, and they treated it very seriously. Because I remember there was like a part in the story where he like they were in a no-win scenario and he had to use it, and like it was like very dramatic because it was like, oh, they've spent so many issues like him struggling with this and like finally kicking the habit, and now he has to dip into it again in order to save everybody's lives and just restart the whole process. It was really good from what I understand. I like I said, I only read the tail end though.
Yeah. Well,
So what are
I'll give it a look.
what are your hopes about Uncanny X-Men?
That it doesn't suck ass.
Yeah. It's the goal.
Fingers crossed.
I'm I'm definitely gonna read the Ryan Stegman X-Men series. I think I'm very intrigued by the lineup and the fact it's gonna be based out of Alaska. I'm just so curious what they're gonna do in Alaska. I saw we talked about the X-Force lineup a while ago because they revealed that, and I am not optimistic about how that book's gonna do.
Why not?
It's just a very odd lineup, and the idea of it, I don't know, it didn't really do much for me. So the leader of the team is Forge. Are you guys a fan of Forge?
I don't
Not
mind Forge.
really.
Oh.
Well, he's never really grabbed me, to be fair.
Forge is really good with the right characters. Like I really liked him in some of the more recent stuff. Like I'm absolutely enthralled by the whole like, oh, what's Forge's power? He can invent anything he needs to invent. Like it works kind of like Darwin in that sense of like he's your solution to every problem, but he's also incredibly arrogant about it.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the lineup is just it's Deadpool, who is not a permanent member of the lineup from the solicitation. He's only like it's going to be a book that features guest characters, and he's the guest character. So it's Forge, Betsy Braddock, who I think is still Captain Britain, Surge, who's a character I really liked from New X-Men, Rachel Summers, and Sage, and some new character that looks like a giant red armored guy.
Okay.
Yeah,
What was the guy's name? What was the guy's name in Generation X?
The guy's name in Generation X?
Strong Guy?
No,
No,
the film we
X-Factor?
watched last week.
Oh,
Oh,
Mondo?
Mondo, that's his name.
Is it Mondo?
I don't fucking know. I was doing a bit.
Oh.
A bit that did not go over very well.
Didn't stick. Didn't stick.
Nope.
But no, like I saw like the whole like the idea of this new run post Krakoa was going to be like, oh, it's a return to basics. So I thought like, oh, is this going to actually be like a return to X-Force basics of, you know, like a Cable led team, and it's not going to be, which I'm fine with, but it's just like that lineup is not inspiring. I've got the same feelings for it that I do about the was it Exceptional X-Men of Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost, and then like 3 new characters no one's heard of.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the book that I'm least looking forward to in the lineup. Like I do love like Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost as characters, but like, yeah, it's just I don't know. Going by the solicitations, it's the one that hasn't really grabbed me.
I'm not optimistic about it, that's for sure. They haven't announced this, so they did reveal like the creative team behind Phoenix, but they've not announced the X Factor book. They did announce the NYX book though. That one also I'm not crazy about either, but I don't think I'm the target demo for it.
Well, I think they
Have
have
you seen the?
announced some of X Factor. Like they've
Oh, they have.
said it's going to be like Angel, Havoc,
Okay.
Pyro,
Okay.
Feral,
Interesting.
and Frenzy.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's a lot going on there.
Interesting. Frenzy is a character that keeps popping up every now and then in the weirdest places.
Mm.
Is Angel the the funder of the group? Because that was like one of the other recurring bits we had is Angel was in so many team books, and that the episode we did on Angel, that the recurring theme was just he was the guy that was footing the bill.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure. It doesn't really
Oh, they kept
say. But...
Pyro's stupid face tattoo. That's terrible.
He's a
Well,
face
yeah,
tattoo.
yeah, because
Yeah,
this
yeah.
isn't our Pyro from back in the day. That he's dead and gone. This is a brand
This is
new Pyro.
Marauder's Pyro.
Wait, why can't they bring him back?
They did bring him back.
Right.
This is regular Pyro. This is Australian Pyro. He just he got a face tattoo in an issue of Marauders of just like a skull, a black skull over his face, and they've not. They just kept it. Because I remember like there was a big dramatic moment in like the Marauders book where Kitty Pryde was just like finally accepting like her new current status until they changed her current status again. Where as a pirate captain, she got hold fast tattooed across her knuckles. Well, then she got killed by Sebastian Shaw, and they resurrected her, and she didn't have her tattoos anymore because it was a brand new body. But they have
Oh,
not done the same for Pyro, who's still walking around with a fucking skull tattoo over his face.
I feel like this is the problem with like making such a giant storyline with a lot of interconnecting threads that need to be, paid
Yeah,
attention
if
to.
this is a return to basics, it's an interesting choice. So I'm fine with Angel because it is Angel. It's not Archangel, but I guarantee you we're gonna get an Archangel storyline at some point.
Oh yeah.
Havoc is fine. Havoc's been such a weird character since Uncanny Avengers, though,
Mm.
because he like went evil,
Yeah, yeah.
and then like in Dark X-Men, that miniseries they had not too long ago, he straight up died, and Goblin Queen resurrected him, so he's got like a zombie body. So it doesn't look like he has that in the preview art, so that's probably for the best. But I'm looking at this lineup and I don't feel X Factor. I feel more X Force than anything, especially with Feral there.
Yeah, yeah.
This feels more X Force to me than X Factor.
Feels more X Force than X Force does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
it's like they're trying to like change up what the teams mean, but then you're like, why? You've already established what they are.
Well, yeah, especially when they made that big push of like, oh, it's return to basics X-Men, and like the X-Men and the Uncanny X-Men lineups are kind of the most uninspired choices in the world. I mean, you've got the one team of like Rogue, Gambit, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, and then the other team
Jubilee.
which is
Yeah.
and you got the other team which is like Cyclops and Juggernaut and Magneto and shit. There's nothing off the wall about those. So then to do that to the the ancillary books is a choice. Oh well.
Yeah. I guess they can't keep going back to the well and doing the same old time after time, though, can they?
So that's fine. I don't object too hard to it. I'll still check out the X Factor book because I do like the Angel character. I just kind of hope they do something with him that isn't I'm gonna fund this team and then eventually I'm gonna turn in Archangel and go crazy. I always liked when they blended it together, like that period of time where he had like normal looking skin and metal wings.
Yeah, yeah.
Or when they did the inverse, he had blue skin and feather wings.
That's
Those are
weird
really the only
though.
two options they can have.
I don't like having the blue skin and then like regular wings. Like
Yeah, I remember that because it's like his wings got fucked up and they shattered and revealed that his feathery wings had been growing underneath him the entire time.
yeah, but we talked about this in an earlier episode. Guys, if you haven't
Yeah.
listened to it already, go back and listen to the Angel episode. But like
Yeah.
they tried so hard to do stuff with Angel and like it's just so uninteresting. You know what I mean? Like it's nobody really, and I feel like people writing Angel now, they're just gonna forget about that stuff because that's not important.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, yeah, I'm curious if they
they're
even
just gonna
bring up
do their own
X-Core
angel.
at all.
What?
I'm curious if they even bring up X-Core at all. I thought X-Core had a really interesting concept of the whole, like, like we're the business side of the X-Men, and the lineup was really good of like Angel and Monet, M, who had like the same kind of character thing of like snobby rich people who had like the evil homicidal side that they were keeping in control. And you had Multiple Man, and you had the character Trinary, and then they threw in some really weird fucking ones of
Wait. Who is Trinary?
Trinary is a newer character they introduced. She can basically communicate and can control machines.
Okay.
Like at one point, I think she had like a pet sentinel.
Did she ever do anything with Forge?
I bet she did, actually.
Because if they didn't, like, that's missing a trick. Like, that's a feud right there. You get three months out of that one.
Easily.
Yeah. Big tables match at the end.
But no, we always end up talking about X-Men.
Well,
so
that's
do you guys
because
want
there's
to
so
know?
much to talk about.
There really is. I mean, it's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
Do you
like
want to know about
Sorry,
my stats on this?
Yes.
Yeah,
Let's hear
yeah.
stats.
All right, so it gets so specific. I can tell you who my top letterers are. And for those who are not familiar, a letterer is the person who actually goes in and handwrites all of like the dialogue into the word bubbles. Like that is somebody's entire job because it is a very special skill to write that small. So according to this, my top letterer is Clayton Cowles. And I'm scrolling through the stuff he's done. Oh, so yeah, Batman, Captain Marvel, Star Wars, Daredevil, Venom, X-Men. Yeah, apparently it is like the buyer's market. If you are a letterer in need of work, this is a great time for you because this guy does fucking everything.
Any letterers who are listening to the show, feel free to apply to Marvel or DC, and you'll absolutely get a job.
Yeah. Top colorist, top cover, top interior artist, top writer. No top inker though. And again, for those who aren't aware, an inker's job is to do like all of the black work in the comic. So they kind of work in conjunction with the colorist. But like again, inking is such a specific skill. You kind of need that to be your gig.
What's your top cover?
My top cover writer or top cover artist is Rafa Sandoval.
Okay.
And a second after him is Jorge Jimenez. Dan Mora is tied for third, that's about right. Dan Mora, Bruno Redondo, those check out. Bruno Redondo does the covers for Nightwing. Dan Mora has been doing the covers for the Batman Superman comic, World's Finest. And I love Dan Mora's work. Dan Mora has such a like playfulness to his character designs. It's really good. And Bruno Redondo's Nightwing art is so dynamic. Like that's one of the things. Nightwing is an interesting book for me because it's so fucking fluffy. Like I don't like it for that reason, but it's one of my favorite books. I can't make sense out of it. And I mean I mean by fluffy is that at no point does it ever feel like Dick Grayson or Barbara Gordon or any of the other characters in the book are in any sort of danger. Like it seems like everything is nice and happy and things resolve in the end. And for some reason it bothers me because there's no stakes for the most part. There seems to be stakes, but it doesn't feel like there's stakes. And yet I enjoy it. You ever have a book like that where it's like I can see the problems, but I still like it?
Probably. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's books I like where people are like, "Why do you like that book?" I'm like, you know, it's cute.
John, I bet it's Carnage for you because you listed Carnage as one of your overrated characters, but then informed us you had read like most of the miniseries that have come out.
Yeah, but I didn't enjoy a lot of the miniseries. Like there was the one where he's basically like trying to unlock the power of an ancient evil god, and that was pretty cool. and you had like Eddie Brock was on the team trying to stop him, and I think John Jameson as well, who's gone from astronaut to
Werewolf by Night. Oh no, not
No,
Werewolf
Yeah.
by Night.
Man-Wolf.
That's somebody else. Yeah,
Um,
Man-Wolf.
Man-Wolf.
Werewolf by Night
Yes.
is Jack Russell, which I always thought was fucking funny because that's a
It is
type
funny.
of dog.
But
Like
yeah,
they picked the least intimidating dog.
He's gonna turn to a fucking werewolf, so look out.
Yeah.
So I have top writers as well, and I also have top characters.
But
And I
yeah,
also
who's
have a
your
percent-
characters?
I will tell you, it is a thorough list. I can give you my top 238 characters.
Yes, start from 230 and work your way down.
All right. No. So like, do you want to do top 10 or do you want to do less than that?
Top 10, I think is fair.
yeah.
Cool. So this is like a multiple person tie for number 10. So this is all based off of like, have these these characters have appeared in the books you've been reading recently. Like that's how it's determined.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Green Arrow, Shakal, who is a oh boy, do I want to get into explaining what that's like? Maybe later. Brainiac, Amanda Waller, and General Zod, and Barry Allen's Flash, which is really funny because I am not currently reading any Barry Allen Flash books. I have no idea where he's coming in on this.
You love the Flash, though.
Yeah.
Love
So
the Flash.
next up is a different version of Brainiac, Parasite, and Lex Luthor, and Lobo. Then Dick Grayson's Nightwing, then Lois Lane, then Batman, and number 1 is Superman.
Oh yeah, you do love Superman.
That would have been my
I
guess.
do. So
Yeah.
So do you want to know, like, I also have my overall, because you can go in and log like the books you've been historically reading.
Mm.
So overall, my top 5 characters are Richter, M, Multiple Man, Superboy, and Azrael is my top one at 107 comics.
Wow.
And my top writers, I'll give you my top 3 writers are James Robinson, Dennis O'Neil, and Peter David.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I can see that. I know you're a big Peter David fan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I dig it.
I've read a lot of stuff just because Peter David was the writer on it. Like
He is good.
they did a recent comic about Janice Vale's Captain Marvel. Like it was like an update on like where's this character been kind of thing. And I had never read that character before, but I just knew it was Peter David, so I read it.
Fair enough.
And I had a book on like how to write comics that was written by Peter David, and like a lot of the story writing kind of information that was there is still very like, it sounds super basic, but when you really like think of it and you think of like examples of bad writing, you're like, oh, how the fuck do people miss that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Mm.
So the top one being, and it's something I say quite a bit, is, you know, conflict creates content. So you need to have foils when you are writing characters. You need people who are the opposite. With like the best example being the Fantastic Four. You have both visually and personality wise, the characters are foils. So you have the super stretchy but cold and logical Reed Richards compared to the, you know, living rock monster who is super emotional Thing. And then you have the kind of mild-mannered invisible girl, or, you know, invisible woman, compared to a literal flying hot-headed flame ball Human Torch. So, you know, like you have characters that are going to clash personality wise, and you can get a lot of content just off those interactions.
I see.
He also went into detail on like the 3 storytelling types of, you know, man versus man, man versus nature, and man versus himself. And provided great examples of each.
And also man versus machine and man versus dog.
Man versus machine will take us back to Armless Tiger Man.
Yes.
He
we always
he
bring it
was
back to
all
Armless.
man versus machine.
He really doesn't like those machines, and understandably so.
Took
He
his
had a
arms
tough
off.
time. Yeah, exactly. If a machine ripped your arms off, you'd be a little bit miffed.
Tiny
There's
bit.
also man versus food as well.
Well, I guess this is your fellow countryman, man versus was it man versus nature with Bear Grylls?
Yeah, but wouldn't you rather be man versus food, where he just eats like hot dogs all day?
It's a pretty sweet
Is
gig,
it-
to be fair.
Yeah. As
Yeah,
like
every
Bear
now and
Grylls
then-
is out there like trying to like build his own house out of twigs and like survive by like drinking his own piss, and then Adam Richman's like, I'm gonna eat 78 hot wings.
What's really funny is like, so where I live in like a larger city, I can just go to certain restaurants and there will be like a picture of him and like some ungodly amount of food and be like, man versus food was filmed here on this particular date.
Mhm.
It's wild, man. Like whenever you watch that show, because it went for like 3 seasons or whatever, and like by the time you know which season it is, because by the time they get to season 3, he looks really sick. You know what I mean? He looks
His
super
caloric
sick, and you're
intake
like,
was wild.
and then like he stopped doing that show because he's like, I have to stop doing this show because guess what,
I'm gonna
guys?
die.
I'm sick. And we're like, wow, but really? What? We had no idea, right? And then recently I find out he's back making food programs again. So I saw like a video he was doing where he was like eating popular British foods
Mm.
and trying to rank them. And I'm like, dude, no offense whatsoever. You know, aging takes a hold of us all. But Jesus fuck, you look worse now than you did 15 years ago when you were eating 86 hot dogs at once. Like, what happened, dude? I thought you stopped doing this show to get better. You look terrible. Is it just because you're eating like treacle tart over in the UK? Is that what's happening? John, I don't know if you've seen that show, but like he starts eating all these like British foods and he has to rank them, but like he doesn't rank them, he doesn't eat them all and then rank them. He like eats one and then just guesses where it goes on the list.
What?
Yeah, which is just stupid. I don't know who came up with this fucking list. It's fucking dumb, right? But then he gets to number 1 and the very last one he has to rank. Okay, let me see who gets this. John, you might get this. Corey, you're not going to get this. The very last thing he has to rank is Buckfast.
Oh, what is Buckfast?
John, you don't get that either? Okay, cool. This is a very popular drink in Ireland and in Scotland. Because I think they brew it in a monastery somewhere in Scotland. And they call it a wine. It is not wine. It is terrible. It's like 15% and it's full of caffeine and sugar. So it's alcoholic and it's caffeinated and it's got sugar in it. And over here, I don't know about Scotland. I know it's big in Scotland. Over here, people drink it to keep themselves awake during the night of drinking. It's insane.
Right.
Yeah, it's bad. And he had to, and he was like, "Oh, this is nice." I'm like, "It's not nice. It's fucking awful." I thought that was funny because Buckfast is like it's like the AEW of drinks. It's very specific to a very specific part of the country.
Mm.
And that's clear because John didn't know what it is, but I do because I know a lot of people that drink Buckfast and a lot of people that get angry when they go to a bar and Buckfast isn't available. And I'm like, guys, have you ever thought about drinking something nice? Let me tell you this. If you ever see it out, never buy it yourself. If somebody else has some, take a drink of it, see what you think. Do not buy a bottle of it. It's not worth your time.
Okay.
Trust me. It's a horrible drink. It's just, somebody told me, they said, I had a drink of it. I'm like, this is disgusting. And they said, yeah, but you get used to it after you drink a whole bottle. I'm like, yeah, but then I would have to drink a whole bottle of it. What the fuck's wrong with you? That's Ireland for you. A weird place, man.
Remember I
Anyway.
saw a video on I think it was TikTok that was nothing but Irish people trying American whiskeys and liquors and being marveled at how high the proofs get made here and how some
Yeah.
of them are just like straight up gasoline. Like, I've had some really gnarly stuff that just it tastes like lighter fluid. And you're like,
Yeah.
yep, that does taste like it's 90 proof.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, over here again, like in Ireland specifically, I think in Scotland, I don't know what the whiskey scene is like in England, but like there's a lot of like whiskey distilleries in Ireland, and Ireland takes their alcohol very seriously,
I've gathered.
which I like. It's kismet. I grew up in the right place,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think that sometimes in America they're like, who gives a shit about taste, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
the
no.
thing. For
There's
me,
a large percentage of people who drink here just for the side effects. They do
yeah.
not do it for the enjoyment.
See, I know a lot of people that drink whiskey, and they drink it because they love the taste of whiskey. I'm like, that's really interesting, because I don't drink spirits at all. I only drink beer.
Mm.
But it's interesting that there's so much variation in whiskey where you can tell like the different flavors, the different tastes of it. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at my corner cabinet right now because I have like a couple of bottles of stuff sitting around. Do you guys have Fireball there? Do you know what Fireball is?
I know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like the most common, like I don't know too many people who drink it straight just because I mean it is cinnamon. But like a common thing I've seen is people put a shot of it in like apple cider because it tastes kind of like apple pie. It's very unusual.
Apple pie.
Yeah.
But then why would you want whiskey that tastes like apple pie?
Like you said again, I think some people here just drink for the side effects, and they're like, if it can be a more pleasant experience as you get absolutely trashed, then by all means.
I see. That's what I think.
I
I'm
just
like,
remember somebody who got really drunk on Fireball and threw up and said that it felt like their throat was on fire.
oh, we've all been there. We've all been there. But
I
like,
think they sponsored like a gig I went to a few years ago where it was like Less Than Jake and Mariachi El Bronx playing.
Oh my
And
God, you saw Mariachi El Bronx?
I've seen them loads of times, but
Oh my
yeah,
God, that's great.
they were giving out free Fireball shots, and yeah, it wasn't the best drink I've ever had.
No, it's not. It's a gimmick.
Yeah.
I also have Jameson, which I don't know if it's quote Irish whiskey, Dylan. You'll have to confirm that for me if that's legitimate or not.
I believe it is an Irish whiskey. Yes.
Okay, it's hard to tell sometimes around here. I also have Jägermeister because that's fun. Sometimes, man, you just got to do a little Jaeger bomb, as a friend of mine would say.
Okay.
Got to do a Jaeger bomb.
Why does he say
That'll wake you up.
Yankee with a Y on it? Like a baby would say Jägermeister.
No, it's the Jaeger bomb.
I
Because
gotta
maybe you
get
don't want to say
Jaeger
all of the
bomb.
syllables. Yeah, dude.
Get Yankee bomb. Listen, kid, you're not old enough to drink. Shut your mouth. That's what I say to my kid all the time. We have. This is why they took him away from me.
There was this bar I used to go to when I lived in a different part of Ohio. That their special gimmick drink was they called it the hot nut, and it was a shot of like hazelnut liquor in a cup of coffee.
Oh boy, we have fun.
Oh yeah, have you guys had any more thoughts about Generation X since we watched it?
I have thought about that stretchy arm.
Yeah.
A number of times. I don't know why. I think, like I said on the show, some of the cinematography I really liked, and the shot where you see like the stretchy arm in the foreground and the guy in the background, I think it's a really good shot. So I have like sometimes I also thought about the guy, the mask. What was his name?
The
What was the guy's
mask.
name?
Oh,
Yeah.
Matt Frewer.
Yeah,
The
the
actor.
Jim
Oh,
Carrey guy,
oh, right. Yeah, yeah,
Russell
yeah.
Tresh, I believe.
because he was
the character's
dressed like
name.
the Mask sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Without the mask.
he wore really loud suits.
The problem was he didn't wear a mask, so I can see where the confusion would have arisen. But he was so interesting as a character that he's the kind of guy you kind of like keep thinking about. The thing I didn't like about, like, on reflection, you like a lot of it just didn't really make any sense.
No,
Like, I don't think it was a very well written show, but
no.
the people in it were pretty good. You know, um, if they tooled it up a little bit better, I think it would have been a much better show.
Has it made you want to go and watch more Matt Frewer movies or TV shows?
Well, what else is he in?
I think he was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids back in the day as the
Really?
neighbor. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. I've seen
Uh,
that like years ago. That's one of those
and
films you see when you're a kid, and then you're like, I've seen it. I don't have to see it again.
I'm pretty sure he was in Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead as well.
I haven't seen it.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Is it
Yeah,
good?
yeah. It's probably Zack Snyder's best movie, to be fair. Like I
That's not,
watched.
that's not hard.
Well, yeah, I know. I watched the second part of his Rebel Moon saga, his like Star Wars ripoff this week.
Okay.
So boring. Just
Rebel Moon?
yes, it's basically he was I don't know if he was hired to write a Star Wars movie or if he just wrote it on his own and brought it to Disney and they were like, we don't want this. But he basically re-engineered it into his own like sci-fi galaxy hopping series. And yeah, Netflix were like, hey, we'll pay you a gazillion dollars for this. And so yeah, they've like released two of them now on Netflix with the promise of like a Snyder cut coming down the road as well for each of them, which would be like
This
twice as long. And yeah.
this fucking Schneider Cut thing is doing my fucking head in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, if this guy was a good director, he could direct one film once.
Yeah.
What? Why are there so many like? Oh, if I did my real cut, I'm like, you're the director. You do the
Exactly.
cut. What are you doing? Why does there always have to be 3 cuts of your fucking films? How are you this bad at being a director? You know, if you can't tell your story in like 2 hours, like if you have to take 4 fucking hours to tell your goddamn story, maybe you're not a good storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
Because this happens every time where they're like, "Oh, the Schneider Cut's great. It's 4 hours long and it tells all the stuff you need to tell." I'm like, "What you?" So,
Yeah,
you
maybe
know what I
you should be
mean?
more
Like,
concise.
Toy Story was an hour and a half, and it was fucking perfect. What are you talking to me about the Snyder Cut? What else could they have added to it? Nothing. It was like wall to wall perfect. No extra fat on it whatsoever. Lean as a motherfucker. Told the story. Buzz Lightyear was in it. He broke his wing. It was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Redemption at the end of it. They sing the song. Credits roll. Right? I
The
didn't
end.
expect to get into Toy Story, but you know what I mean. Like the Snyder Cut stuff, like it just does my head in because it's just a lazy excuse. You're the director. It's your film.
But they've
Fucking make your film.
weaponized it as well now. It's like turned into like this really cynical like marketing tool for
Yeah.
Netflix where they're like, oh, we'll release this version, but then there's this 3-hour version that we're going to release in 6 months' time. So you better
Yeah.
watch that as well.
Well, you,
Like,
you think that is like a Netflix like bargaining thing? Like, hey man, make a film on Netflix and you can make like 4 different versions of your fucking film.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
One
Well,
will
I heard
call
it
the
didn't
shit
really
version.
go over well, though.
Never
No,
go over well.
John, did you watch it?
yeah, it was super boring. Like
John,
the
real quick.
first one, oh, sorry.
Oh no, you go ahead.
Yeah, the first part was sort of about bringing this ragtag group of people together, but it did such a shit job of like establishing who they were as characters and what their backstories were, how they fit together. It was just like, here's this guy, here's that woman, and it's like, well, okay, why should we care about them? And then the second part, which got released like a couple of months ago now, uh, just didn't follow up on it either. It was like they had one scene where all these characters were like sat around a table and like all basically telling their origin stories of why they hate this evil galactic empire, and it was like the same story for each of them. Like the empire
How
came
many
and
people
killed
and how
their
many
family.
people were telling the same story?
That's like 4 or 5 of them. Like
Ugh.
I don't know. It was just so bland and boring and like lazy. I think that offends me more than anything else. Is just how lazy the storytelling is.
And then
Like,
one of them had like a mother whose name was Martha, and then one of the other guys like, my mother's name is Martha. How did you know? This is
Wait,
great. We should be
So,
best friends.
my mother's name's
so here's a
Martha as
question
well.
for you.
Everybody's fucking mother's name is Martha. They're sitting around the table. My mother was also named
here's
Martha, and then they're like, "Is it the same mother? What's going on here?" Anyway,
So I was gonna ask John, how many movies have you seen so far this year?
I am now up to 296.
Damn.
what was the last one?
The last one was called The Road to Wellville, which was about
Dr. Kellogg.
Dr. Kellogg, yes.
So the weirdest book is coming out this week, and I'm so confused by it. I'm going to pick it up when I go to the store, but it's Giant Size X-Men #1, and I just want to read the solicitation because it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with anything.
What?
Yeah. So this is the solicitation for it. The avenging angel loses himself in a dangerous maze of the mind. A mysterious card has lured the dashing Warren Worthington III, aka Angel, to a quiet New York City street where he will undergo a torturous trial unlike any he's ever faced before. A brand new villain has it out for mutant kind and aims to start by knocking Angel out of the sky. Including a reprint of the Marvel 2-in-1 by Mark Grunwald, Ralph Macchio, and Ron Wilson, a classic Angel and Thing team-up tale of daring, drama, doom, and disco?
Disco?
By the way, this is not the same Ralph Macchio who was the Karate Kid. Just to put that out there.
Yeah, I had to. I figured. I found this out myself. I'm like, there's 2 Ralph Macchios. What are the chances?
Yeah. So again, I just like this is coming out this week. It doesn't seem like it has anything to do with any of the stuff that's going on with the Krakoa X-Men or this future X Factor book. But yeah, was it comment? Is this still part of Krakoa? Most likely no. It's apparently set in the present day, but has nothing to do with Krakoa.
Well, I think that like the thing about that Krakoa stuff is that like now that it's kind of on its way to being over,
it's wrapping up.
Yeah, they're gonna do like the hard reset and be like, remember, it'll be like whispers in the wind. You know what I mean? Like they'll barely reference it, but for the most part, they'll just fucking charge ahead with their own shit. Because that's the thing. That's what annoys me about modern comics is that recently, and when I say recently, I mean like maybe like the last 5-10 years, whatever. But like any of the big stuff that happens, it feels like it just kind of like circles around to the status quo. And again, maybe this is like a conversation for a different podcast, but it feels like everything kind of circles back. And they're like, well, remember, we're back where we started. Because the Krakoa era had so much like potential and stuff they could do. But if you look at them back now, the storyline is mutants are once again like hated by humans. I'm like, this is what they were 30, 20, 50, 40 years ago. This is a seam. They've just kind of it's like they did the Krakoa storyline, and now that it's done, they've rubbed it out. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's happened with so many of the older, bigger storylines from the last, I'm going to say 20 years. I don't know if that's accurate, but I feel like the way that media works these days is that they need to create something big and impactful to keep people's attention. And because of the nature of comics, they need to circle back around again and reset everything and then start back where they were. We talked about Ben Reilly a few weeks ago. That was such an interesting shake-up of Spider-Man, but at the end of it, it just resolved into Spider-Man fighting the Green Goblin, which we have seen plenty of times. Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus, whenever he became Superior Spider-Man, really interesting. But I knew off the jump, straight away, I'm like, this. It doesn't matter how long it lasts because I've seen the Clone Saga. Doesn't matter how long this lasts. They can stretch it out as long as you want. It's going to end up with Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man once again, which is what happened. Everything that they do in comics for the last, I don't know, long time, just always ends up circling around again. And
I feel
it's
like
such a weird thing because they try to make it so big and bombastic and like lasting, like, wow, this is going to shake up the Marvel universe. But it doesn't.
well, you
because it
mentioned
doesn't last.
Marvel. You mentioned Marvel. I think Marvel's like the biggest offender of it. It feels like Marvel has like they keep launching this brand new era, all new, all different, and then
Yeah.
like 2 years, 3 years, it's like it's another brand new, all new era. And I say this as like a big primary DC fan who's like had the crises that reset fucking continuity. But it does seem like that Marvel's method of going about it feels, I don't know, sneakier because like in DC they at least like this is all big production, and in Marvel it just seems like stuff gets forgotten.
Yeah, I used to think that like back in the day, the way it used to be was DC would come up with like big crazy storylines that shook up their entire foundation, and then would reset themselves 3 weeks later. They used to reset their entire universe like what they've done it like 3 or 4 times now, just
Yeah, no,
in a
it's
way
been
to like
really bad
retell
in the
those
last
stories.
it's
Right,
been really
but
bad in the last like 20 years, like you mentioned. Because like you
but
said, they
not
reset to they had Flashpoint to New 52 and then New 52 to Rebirth. So and then there was another one that was planned called 5G during the pandemic that got canceled. And which is like great because it like on paper it sounded fucking terrible.
But like to your point though, Marvel with their big crossovers and stuff, it doesn't really seem to have like any consequence to it. It's
Yeah.
just the only purpose is this is this year's big crossover. This is this year's big event. And like, okay, cool, but like it has like something has to happen. Something has to have some kind of lasting consequences to it. It's a thing that really grinds me about comics, and I think we've talked about this on a different show. Was that I was initially very skeptical about Krakoa because the joke in comics is that everybody comes back to life anyway, and then in
Yeah.
Krakoa, no, they just
Literally.
they lit the storyline was they're going to bring everybody back. Like this is tough. This is a tough sell to people to make that death like obviously like irrelevant. And so now they have to like reset that and go, we've already done that. We've already proved that death isn't that is irrelevant, but also we're going to have to try to live in this world where we pretend that it isn't. Like it's a tough sell, but they're going to have to do it because that's the only way they can keep doing stories. Because they went, not that they went too hard with Krakoa, but like they were very ambitious.
Well, I think they
And
did go too hard with it. They went too big at least. Like
yeah,
it was such a like profoundly world-changing like shakeup of the X-Men and like the mutants standing in the world that like
yeah.
Mhm.
how can you go back to the way things were after that? But
I
they're
mean, they
gonna have to.
terraformed Mars.
But
Exactly.
that's exactly it. Like they just did. They just went back to it.
They had drugs which basically cured cancer or
Cured every
something as
illness.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now they're
Like
just gonna go back on all of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
apparently.
Like that doesn't make any sense, but they have to because because once you
I'm
go that
really
hard, like where
curious.
do you go from there?
Well,
Mm.
I'm kind of curious now, like what was Hickman's solution going to be? Because like
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hickman
I would love
dropped
to know.
because yeah, Hickman dropped because he wanted to like he had an endpoint for Krakoa, but it got so much support and had done so well in the sales that Marvel was like, well, we don't want to end this now because we're still making money off of this. But yeah, no,
Sounds a
it's
little bit
like
like the Clone Saga, doesn't it? Oh, we can make
yeah.
money off this. We'll just stretch it out a little bit longer.
Well, and like the Clone Saga, like the Life of Riley site, one of those things I kept seeing was they brought in new people, and then this was their ideas to keep it going, and like that's what happened. Hickman left, and then they gave more of the power of the book over to Jerry Duggan, who I am not the biggest Jerry Duggan fan in the world, but
Yeah.
I, yeah, I think he's fine, but I don't think he's the guy you want leading your your universe essentially.
No, I would agree with that.
So I heard really good things about the first issue of Blood Hunt, which is the new big event comic at Marvel right now that involves like Daredevil and stuff.
Yeah, I heard there's some big deaths in the first issue,
Really?
and a heel turn as well.
Really?
Mm.
So I was talking to the local comic store I own, the manager, who I found out is like friends with Brian Michael Bendis and shit. Um, he was telling me about it, like he was giving me the hard sell on it when I was there like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He was like, "Have you any interest in reading this?" And I've taken some recommendations for him before, and like Dylan, remember I told you about 8 billion genies?
What?
8 billion genies.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was a recommendation from him, and it was amazing. And the other book that he recommended to me was Canary, which was by Scott Snyder, who I had the exact same feeling about it that I have every Scott Snyder book, which is like, interesting premise, good start, hated the ending.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm like a little 50-50 sometimes on his recommendations, but yeah, no, he was giving me the hard sell on Blood Hunt, talking about how cool it was and how unique it was, and it reminded him of like the 90s comics because of some of the characters it featured on, because 90s 90s Marvel featured like Morbius the Living Vampire and Cloak and Dagger were a big part of it, and the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, and of course Venom and Carnage and stuff. So it did feel like, he said, it felt like it was like a return to that era of like the old school like Midnight Suns Marvel Knight kind of deal. I'll have to try to look up spoilers now though.
Yeah, like, do you know anything that happens in it?
I
With
read a few
with
things.
with the heel turn?
I'll cut this out for spoilers' sake.
Yeah. What we're gonna do is we're gonna hear about it. We're gonna cut it out, and then after that, you're gonna hear us go, "Wow, that guy!"
Yeah. Works for me. So, welcome back to those who we just time traveled a little bit. That's an interesting concept because, I mean he's, well, boy, can't say too much without revealing anything about it, but yeah, no, it's an interesting concept, and like you said, the guy who runs the comic book store is super fucking jazzed about it. Although, fun note, I did tell him about our show and that we just did the Ben Riley episode, and he was telling me how that the issue that started all of that, the one from like the 70s, Dylan, where the Peter fought the clone and then dumped his body in the smokestack.
Yes.
He was like, "That's the comic that got me into comic books." I went, "Really?"
Hey.
He's like, "Yeah." He's like, I just saw a cover of Spider-Man fighting Spider-Man, and I went, I gotta read this.
Well, you
And
see, that's the
now
thing.
it led to him being friends with industry professionals and big names and having basically running a fucking comic book store. So there you go. We can thank the Clone Saga for Gib being in my life.
The thing is, whenever I was reading the Clone Saga, the thing that got me into it, we watched the TV show, me and my brother, the cartoon series, but we were in a shop, we were in Easton's, that's for John. We were in Easton's one time, and we saw the cover, which was Spider Carnage.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I love Carnage. We like Spider-Man. This has got to be fucking sick as hell. That's why we bought it, the cover, because that's the point of a cover. It entices you in.
Entice you.
Yeah. And so we saw Spider-Man as Carnage. We're like, well, that's sick as hell. So we bought it, and then we went home. We were like, what the fuck did we step into? But that's, I totally get that. It's so funny that the Clone Saga inadvertently has brought so many people into your life.
Yeah, right. So we're talking about 90s stuff, and I'm curious if you guys were into this sort of thing too. Back in the day, Marvel and DC used to have actually a really good relationship. Do you remember Marvel versus DC?
Kind of.
Yeah, I don't think I ever read any of it, but I was aware of it.
Yeah, I was aware of it. I never read it.
They made trading cards for that. That's where I got a lot of my information, because like the trading cards would be like Superman versus the Hulk, or like Superboy versus Spider-Man, or Aquaman versus Namor. And so they made a comic, and basically it was like, I don't know if it's like a dimensional rift or what, but so like the DC universe and the Marvel universe started fighting one another, and I remember some of the results. Like I remember Aquaman beating Namor because Namor couldn't control sea life, and Aquaman had that, so he just like summoned like killer whales and shit.
Mm.
I remember Robin versus Jubilee, and they ended up like becoming a couple in that comic. Like they hit it off
What?
after they had their initial skirmish.
That's
But
cute.
do you remember the Amalgam universe?
Again,
basically-
briefly.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're making an omnibus of both Marvel versus DC and the Amalgam universe, but of I remembered like some of those designs, like Super Soldier, which was the combination of Superman and Captain America, Spider Boy, which was Spider-Man and Superboy, and Dark Claw, which was Wolverine and Batman. Like there's some like, really intense designs on those. But yeah, I was just curious if like was that something that you guys were aware of that happened? Because again, Marvel and DC used to get along, and they used to do like combo stories and stuff like that.
Well, I feel like that was a 90s thing, really. Like there was like the Amalgam universe, like you said, and then there was like the crossover, which was like the Avengers versus the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know there was like some kind of, I don't know, there were other crossovers as well.
Yeah. I remember
Which
Kurt
was
Busiek did some.
Yeah, which was, I quite like that because again, maybe that's part of the 90s where you had that like anything can happen kind of spirit to it.
Yeah.
Which I really feel like, for good or for bad, they like doubled down on that stuff. If you read comics in the 90s, like it was just like, geez, well, here, whatever the fuck, we're gonna kill Superman. There's two Spider-Men, like here's Norman Osborn
Well,
again.
Well, we were talking about how like it feels like those changes don't stick, right?
Right.
Like, I mean that was even true to then, but like some of them like they would last a while. Like Nightfall, which was like the big Batman story where it was the debut of Bane and he broke Bruce's back, and John Paul Valley became Batman for a period of time. And that was like across all titles, and I don't think they would do that now anymore. I don't think they would do an across all titles storyline like that, because like Justice League and everything else that Batman was a part of, like it was like, oh, there's this different guy that's Batman, and he's really violent and really like aggressive and intense. Like what happened to Bruce kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is interesting, and you're right. There was that kind of feeling of anything, and I think it's a lot of it had to do with just those initial comics from the 30s that were going for millions of dollars in auction. A lot of money got pumped into comics because people thought they were going to be worth something, which gave them the capital to do things. Like we wouldn't have Vertigo Comics if it wasn't for like a lot of stuff in the 90s, and Vertigo gave us like Sandman, and it gave Animal Man and Swamp Thing by Alan Moore, and just like a lot of people got a lot to do a lot of really interesting, intense stuff.
Yeah, like they
because
took
of
a lot
that
of
90s.
chances.
Yeah. Image Comics came about because of the 90s stuff, because like Rob Liefeld and the other artists were like, we should be getting more credit than what we've been getting as the artists for these books. So they went and did their own company that's still around. I mean, I don't know if you guys read a lot of Image stuff, but Image, I think, has some of the best practices in that a lot of it's still creator owned, and like the initial trades, like volume 1 of any trade is going to be substantially cheaper than any other trade because they're trying to entice you to buy it. And it was kind of the reason why I have one of our topics is like favorite non-DC Marvel book, because I think there are so many cool indie titles and stuff out there that, maybe you wouldn't think to read because it's not a massive tentpole kind of story.
Yeah, it does have Spider-Man in it, because if not, I'm probably not interested.
I still think you'd love 8 Billion Genies and God Hates Astronauts.
Oh, I don't know if I told you this, but I got the first trade paperback of God Hates Astronauts.
Oh, what'd you think?
It was really good.
It's fucking insane, right?
It's really good. Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
With Prince Tiger eating a cheeseburger? Greatest character name of all time.
No. Not even the greatest tiger related.
Oh, Armless Tiger Man, of course.
Thank you.
Dude, that's the crossover. That's the crossover.
Armless Tiger Man versus, what was it? Tiger eating a cheeseburger?
Prince Tiger eating a cheeseburger.
I don't like him being himself a prince. Like, come on, man.
one one has no arms and the other has one arm occupied by a cheeseburger because he's constantly eating a cheeseburger.
Couldn't he use both hands to eat the cheeseburger?
I mean, I'm sure he could, but I mean, one of them has to have a functioning hand. They'll never get anything done.
No, because Armless Tiger Man has proved you don't need functioning hands. You can still kick.
Yeah, but okay, so Armless Tiger Man, as much as we love him, bit of a jobber.
No. Well, yes, technically, yes. But that's not our fault. It's
not our fault.
People don't understand what kind of a sweet human being he is.
Yeah, when he's biting people's throats and
yeah. It's adorable, You ever see like a bear attack somebody? But people still go.
That was the biggest. I remember that was the big review coming out of Werner Herzog's Grizzly Man was how fucking cute it was.
That's what I'm saying. People know that bears will absolutely rip your dick off, but they also go, look how cute that bear is. That's Armless Tiger Man. Yeah? Thank you.
But he'll rip your dick off with his feet, which you have to pay good money for.
He will absolutely rip your dick off.
Yeah, some people, you got to pay good money for that, that kind of treatment.
That's how he's still in business.
He has an OnlyFans where he pays a premium fee. He'll rip your dick off with his feet.
On camera, he'll rip somebody's dick off, and they're like, this is exactly what I wanted. Thank you. Here's £7,000.
Hell yeah.
And he's like, put it in my bank account. I can't take the money.
Yeah, I can't. What am I going to do? I can't reach my wallet with my feet.
Yeah, put it in the bank, you fucking prick. He's sending me in PayPal. We talked about this before the fucking video. Please, give me some dignity. And then the other guy's like, give you some dignity. You still have a dick. This is my Armless Tiger Man comic. It's not what they expected. It's very graphic. No. I will draw the dick ripping. There's a whole lot going on.
Do you remember that controversy? That they put out so DC has done away. So Vertigo shut its doors, and now they have Black Label. And I think Scott Snyder's starting his own new alternate label that is essentially going to be Vertigo. But they had the Batman storyline where you got to see Batman's dick, and it blew people's fucking minds, and people were upset about it. And I still am not entirely sure why people were upset that you could see Batman's genitals.
Is it because it was so small?
Maybe that's why they were like, Batman should have a way bigger dick.
They're like, Batman should have a huge ass dick. You're like, well, no, don't you think he's overcompensating for something? Hello, he pretends to be a fucking bat. Don't you think he's up to something? They all have. Let's be honest here. They all have tiny dicks, right? Why else would you dress up in spandex and pretend to be like a scorpion or whatever?
I'll tell you, if you didn't have a small one and you were wearing spandex, it would be noticeable.
Yeah. Right, but exactly.
Did you imagine the Joker trying to fight Batman and he's just like, I just can't take my eyes off it. It's like watching The Labyrinth with David Bowie.
Exactly. If you look at comics, you never see the dick. It's all smooth. I'm like, that's because they got tiny dicks. It just tucks in. This
is that the fan art? Is that going to be the thumbnail art, Dylan?
Tiny dicks. Whenever we said we're gonna do an episode where we just spitball about stuff, I put money on it that none of us thought we would circle around to talking about tiny dicks. Batman's tiny dick. Can you call it Batman's tiny dick? And I'll just draw Batman and us with a magnifying glass on his crotch, No? Yes? Well, we'll talk about this. We'll talk.
We'll talk about it, yeah.
Yeah. Guys, if you think Batman also has a tiny dick, let us know in the comments.
Let us know in the comments of a Limp Bizkit music video. Someone was just watching some live, they're watching the Woodstock 99 footage where they incite a riot and somebody some unspeakable acts occurred in the crowd and they just write in the comments I bet Batman does have a tiny dick.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fucking, the video from WrestleMania where Limp Bizkit did a couple of songs.
Oh
yeah. The comments just Batman's got a tiny dick, dude. I want this podcast to be a really big success purely for the fact that it would get people to just write nonsense underneath Limp Bizkit videos. That's honestly, that's the only reason. I think that's super funny. I'm so glad we came up with that joke like right off the bat. You know,
Well, I
fun
mean, it
stuff.
came from your Animal Crossing videos, which, by the
It
way, if
did.
you never were aware, Dylan played Animal Crossing every day for a year, and
Yes.
it was really fucking funny. So if
Thank
you want to
you.
watch 365 episodes of Animal Crossing, Dylan, where do they need to go?
It's Explodey Plays on YouTube. So if you just like at Explodey
Yeah,
Plays, on YouTube, it's I thought it was funny.
I think it was. I enjoyed it.
I'm
I
glad
will
you
also
liked
tell
it.
you one of my favorite episodes, videos you ever did video game wise was the one where you're playing that darts game, and no matter where you aimed, the dart kept going to the exact same fucking spot.
I have told my friends, I'm like, guys, you got to come over and record an episode because my friend Corey watched me play Bullseye by myself, and he said to me, "You have to play this with other people just so we can get a second episode of Bullseye."
Yeah, no, I agree. I would love to. I'd love to watch another couple episodes of Bullseye. I thought it was
Oh,
fucking
I think we
hysterical.
can only stretch one more episode because it is a terrible game, but I would love to play that again. You know what? That show, it's coming back. I'll say that. I got a lot of stuff lined up, and hopefully we'll
Oh,
get
you're
some
going
stuff
back
going
to
in the summer.
you're getting back into the video game
I hope so.
channel.
I have some videos recorded, and hopefully we'll be able to get some stuff up over the summer.
So
That's the
that's
plan.
really funny. So here's things. If you do listen to this, this is our initial this is only one of our weird initial hobbies.
Yeah.
So we know that John watches a lot of movies every year. Dylan runs a video game account, and I play an obscene amount of fucking D&D.
Yes.
So that's the other components of who we are as people.
So we're all really cool.
Yeah, we're the best.
Yeah, we're cool people. Everybody loves us. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plans are to like bring back because I love the. It takes a lot of work, but like the YouTube stuff was really fun because
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought the Animal Crossing thing up because Animal Crossing was like some of the most fun I've ever had because you turn it on and then for like 10 to 15 minutes I just talk shit and then turn it off again. Like I had so much fun with it. There was no pressure. There was no like you have to talk about this or that. Just whatever I talked about was what was the episode. You know what I mean? Like this, like good or for bad. But this is what it is, and I loved it. It was so much fun. I miss it, but like I feel like because I did it for a whole year, I can't really go back to it. Like it's done now. Animal Crossing is
Well, I mean,
done.
there are other Animal Crossing games though. I mean, there's the one
Yes,
that came out there's the one that came out right at the beginning of the pandemic that I know
I
for a
have it.
fact saved a lot of people's fucking mental health when that happened.
I have that game. But the problem with that is, Corey, if you remember the old Animal Crossing game I played, which was for the GameCube, there were some really like mean animals in it. Some of the villagers were
Oh
really
yeah.
like just unpleasant. They took them out in the new game because Nintendo are so lovely that they thought everybody has to have a nice time playing Animal Crossing. So you don't want to play Animal Crossing and then get in contact with an unpleasant person. And I'm like, no, fuck you. Part of the fun of Animal Crossing was that they were just absolute dicks to you, and the fun of it was finding a way. I didn't show it on the show, but there are ways to get those people to leave your island by being dicks to
Yeah.
them, and they don't tell you this, but you can figure it out. Like if there's somebody in the island that you don't like, just chase after them. Like just keep hitting them with the bug net. And they will. Maybe I did show this, but if you just keep hitting them on the head with the bug net, they'll turn around to you, go, "Stop hitting with the bug net," and you keep doing it, and they'll turn around to you again and say, "I swear to God, dude, do it one more time. I'm gonna leave this island." Keep hitting them, and then the next day they'll leave the island in a huff. And I'm like, they never. The best thing about that original Animal Crossing was they told you nothing. They said, "Here's the game, figure it out," and you do. You just make it work. Like even playing it or whenever I played it, 2022, there was stuff in it that I didn't even know because you just figure it out, And I like that kind of game as opposed to the new Animal Crossing for the Switch, which was a little not handholdy, but very like here's your game, but like within these parameters, whereas with the original one, the parameters were like your detriment, and you had to work around those parameters, which I really liked. But that's a whole other story. That's a game development episode.
Oh,
You know what I mean? It's a whole other thing. I could talk about Animal Crossing all day. If you guys want to see it, once again, Explodey Plays on YouTube. Please follow me. I need the follows. I have like 22 subscribers. You don't get any money from 22 subscribers. That's a fact. Watch my Shantae episodes. They were really good. I really liked them.
yeah, the Shantae episodes were fun.
What was the one you liked? Jet Set Radio?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Jet Set Radio. That was a lot of fun. You're the only one person I know that ever watched that fucking shit.
Hey, support your friends.
Thank you. Why are my regular fans are like this? I'm like, have you seen my show? And they're like, no. Why do I make it? For fun.
Well, like you said, at some point, I have a feeling that I'll end up visiting your country, and we should all fucking hang out.
If you ever come here, we will record a YouTube show of us playing.
Oh, we'll do a live one.
John, also, if you want to come over, we'll all get together. We'll all play Bullseye.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Great crack.
I'll finally get to see what John looks like.
You know what John looks like. You've seen the pictures.
I've
I'll
seen
be wearing a mask the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Got a kayfabe, man.
Yeah.
You'll be wearing an Axiom mask.
Yeah. The Kane mask?
I do own a Kane mask.
He does have a Kane mask.
Oh, nice. Which version?
Original.
The classic version.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
But it's sort of made from cheap rubber rather than like leather, so it's I can only wear it for like short periods of time before the smell overwhelms me.
Delicious.
Yeah, they don't look like the most breathable things either.
No, definitely not.
I will tell you that what I know about there is a certain population here in America that are interested in some of the stuff that's like really popular over in your country, but it makes them just massive fucking nerds here. Like Doctor Who, for example, from what I understand, is a very like common thing that one would be a fan of in the UK.
Yeah, I'd say it's fairly mainstream over here. It's like Saturday night TV viewing. So...
Yeah, if you're a fan of Doctor Who here, you're just a massive fucking nerd. Because you have to fucking find it to watch it for one, because we don't get the BBC over here normally.
Yeah, but they've struck up a deal with Disney now. So
yeah, so you can watch it now.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. Like over here, like we can see Doctor Who like whenever you want.
Yeah.
Like, it is just kind of a thing, like part of our culture. Like, people know it, but like, maybe not to like the extent of like being a Doctor Who nerd, but like people are aware of Doctor Who.
The other big one is soccer. Like, if you're a fan of like Premier League soccer here, you're just the biggest fucking dork.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my God. No. I remember. So like we have Columbus has a Major League Soccer team, the Columbus Crew, and like we just won the championship. I think it's like maybe our second time in recent years, but like we're one of the bigger teams in America, and I can still like we just built a whole brand new fucking field near where I work actually, and I can tell you most of the people that I know who are big like Columbus Crew fans are just the biggest fucking nerds. It's nowhere near the same environment that it is over there. Nowhere fucking near.
Because like over here, if you're into football, you're probably not a nerd.
No, you're probably our equivalent of football fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
But did Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney not do a good job of introducing soccer to the American nation?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they've done a really good job. Will fucking Ferrell was in downtown Columbus on like one of the championship games because he went to a bar and just completely commandeered it. And got up on top of the bar with a live mic and started like doing renditions of karaoke.
He's just
Yeah, so like,
invested in Leeds United over here as well.
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's why.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, like it's really funny because like I said, like so Columbus, like every other big city in Ohio has like teams. So like Cleveland has a football team and a baseball team and a basketball team, and Cincinnati has a football team and a baseball team. But Columbus, like we have the soccer team and the hockey team. And our hockey team did like I think they did the worst this year.
Mhm.
But
Wait,
yeah,
wait,
no,
wait,
like
wait,
there's
wait.
kind of
Whoa. Are you
yeah.
telling me? Are you going to say to me and John and all the other thousands of people that listen to the show, which I assume by the point this episode goes out, it will be thousands,
Yeah.
that Tony Khan hasn't made more people in America be interested in soccer?
He can't get more people interested in being fans of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right, because he has to
They're
focus
a
on
shit
something.
show.
He has to
They
focus
they
on something.
routinely get poor, like, so the players union in football, they do like surveys and like teams that are like the best to work with, and the Jaguars routinely come dead last. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for joining us for another one of these episodes where we just kind of, shoot the shit and ramble and talk about whatever. A lot of X-Men talk usually.
Well, if you like that, make sure you check in next episode where we're definitely going to talk about X-Men.
Yeah, we are actually, I think.
Yeah.
As long as everything still falls through the way that we think, we'll be continuing on our series of visiting the original 5 X-Men individually. So we've already talked about Beast, we've already talked about Iceman, we've already talked about Angel. So now we're going to get to the two heavy hitters of that original lineup who've had the most stuff going on, which would be Cyclops and Jean Grey. So
But which
it should be
one
fun to talk about.
you're gonna have to subscribe to
Yeah,
find out.
Dylan's always good for the marketing aspect.
Not
Yeah.
not really, because we haven't grown our show at all.
We actually have a little bit.
It's probably
I
not
see
because of
the
me.
Oh well. We've been getting some more listeners out there and in other countries, which is always so wild to me.
It's
So
really sweet.
like
Yeah, I love the fact that people outside of the UK or United States would want to listen to the show. I really appreciate that. That's really nice. Sorry we had to put this at the end of the show, but like if you got
yeah, we
all the way
appreciate
through
you.
it, now you hit the shout out. That's why you gotta listen to the whole show. But like you were talking about like Poland and Germany and stuff, and
Yeah,
it's
Brazil,
so sweet. Yeah, like
India.
it's India. Like that's crazy that people would listen to us talking about Armless Tiger Man. Like, thank you very
Yeah.
much. You know, really appreciate it. It's so it's really nice. You know,
Well, folks, join us next time when we definitely touch on one of the two X-Men characters we've not spoken of previously. Until then,
which one?
uh,
You'll never know till you subscribe.
there you go. We'll chat with you later. Have a good one. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
I like how you did that one like you were playing the trumpet.